What is going on, guys? My name is Feeds. Welcome back to Feeds Mindset, episode 36 with the man Squid. How are you, Squid? Welcome in.
Yo, I'm doing good. How are you, man?
I'm doing well, man. I'm choking up on my words. I didn't actually expect to do this podcast today, but I'm very blessed that we both have the time to be able to sit down here. So, of course, obviously, thank you so much for being able to be on.
Oh no, thanks you for having me, man. Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course, man. So before we get into it, one thing I always say at the very beginning of my podcast, I like talking about kind of our friendship per se. And me and you, which I said this again, I don't really know a better way to say it. So we're kind of strangers in a way. I don't like that word. But I do like it. The reason why I say this now, I feel like it makes a lot of people feel weird, but a lot of this podcast is about mental health and networking and stuff. And I like to try to just make it a point right at the rip to just like me and you have no idea who we are. We do have a common interest of NorCal, but I mean, aside from that, we don't really know each other. So I like to put that now because if other people are having issues, reaching out and making friends and stuff, I just try to make that a point that, if me and Squid can do it, so can you guys. So just kind of something small. So Squid, obviously I don't know a ton about you, so I'm excited to kind of get into this. I did watch, of course, your little channel trailer that you give to anybody that checks up on your content for the things that you kind of do. And you're kind of a jack of all trades, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I definitely would say that.
Yeah, I mean, you do gaming content, you do setups, you do reviews, you do tips for creators, you do vlogs. You've also been a part of the military. So you've definitely got a lot of things going on. So that's awesome. So for anybody, including I guess myself, that don't know you, and just to kind of summarize, who is Squid as of today?
Like you mentioned, I U.S. Army veteran. I did 5 years with one combat tour to Afghanistan. I was supposed to go on a second combat tour, but I got medically discharged due to issues that happened on my first deployment. Now, after almost 10 years with battling with the government, I finally got 100% disabled, even though my signs and stuff were there. But I got out the military at 50% disability due to mental issues. So I would say mental health is a very important factor, especially for me. But I also do a hip hop dancing. I was a part of the 2011 U.S. Army Soldier Show, which is a 9-month singing and dancing tour around the world. So I've been through Europe, Germany, Korea, all the way through the United States. The only place I didn't visit at the time in that tour for that year was Hawaii. After that, I got into content creation around 2014, 15-ish, and just been doing gaming content up until about 2 years ago. I started getting into product reviews because I got that 100% disability. I was able to increase my disability check. So I was able to, get stuff for my setup. And when I was looking at items, I noticed that a lot of people weren't being really honest with the reviews and stuff. And I started purchasing products and realizing there was issues with the products that people were suggesting.
Not raising
So
awareness.
I didn't like that. So I decided to go ahead and jump into that space myself.
Nice.
So now I do that. And I also do content creation education, giving my thoughts about certain topics when it comes to, I would say, newer creators or people who are looking to get into content creation in general. I try to help them out with, budget setup items or just how to do things a little bit more smoothly for yourself that you might have not thought about and other people might have not talked about as far as using certain programs or, like I said, products or something like that. And I also stream. I switched from Twitch to Kick just this past year, and I mostly play FPS games on stream. So I do a lot of different like you said, jack of all trades. I do a lot.
Yeah. I mean, that's awesome. And I don't want to pry too much into your background, but are you full time right now? Is that your full time job as being a content creator and doing this?
I'm very, very close to actually monetizing the YouTube channel. So hopefully in the near future, I'm just like 1,000 views off of watch time on, I would say, long form content, which I would say roughly, depending on if you know what you're doing or wherever, it would be a little bit harder than short form content, even though you need like 3 million views, I think, on YouTube. Combined with shorts. But if you know what you're doing, that's kind of relatively actually achievable, which my type of content, especially being long formed and doing product reviews, and there's already so many people in that genre, it's really surprising within a short amount of time that I'm actually close to that. But Yeah, it's mostly just my 100% disability. Since I can't technically like work,
Sure.
and this is not really considered a job from the government
Right.
perspective. But this is the only thing I can do. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Definitely.
guess you could say a full time.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, that's cool. I'm excited for you, and I'm sure that's probably going to open up a lot more avenues once you know, hit that
Oh yeah.
milestone. So that's sick. So yeah, I appreciate you letting us kind of know all about that, and I'm excited for you. And you know, my heart goes out to you. I mean, my brother, he's in the Air Force. I think he's had 7 or 8 years so far. So
Mhm.
I don't know a whole lot about the military, but I have respect for anybody that served. So
I
you know,
appreciate it. Appreciate
thank
it.
you for what you do.
Mhm.
So yeah, so let's kind of get into it. You know, we've talked about a little bit of things here about roughly everything that you've kind of done. So kind of take me back in time. You know, take me back in time and help me understand how you first got into gaming and started realizing this type of space and environment.
Um, I've been gaming from a super young age. I remember my parents tried to get us like every single game console possible when they could. So, I've had everything from Sega Genesis to Nintendo 64 to GameCube, PlayStation 2, Xbox One, Xbox 360, well, the first Xbox, the
Right.
first PlayStation. Like we had all the different consoles, but when I got in the military or wherever, like I had to, get my own gaming stuff and everything, and I realized how expensive it was trying to get all the stuff for yourself. But luckily, like on the deployment, I was able to take my game console, and I played when I could. Um, but when I got med boarded out, I was going through obviously a lot of stuff mentally, and I found several YouTubers that was playing video games or wherever, and I wanted to know because I was kind of like tight on money, especially getting
Mm,
out. Anybody who's experienced it, they know the difficulties as far as like pretty much losing your full-time job and stuff like that and not knowing how much money you're going to have. So I needed to know like if I purchase a game, is it going to be worth it and I'm not
yeah.
going to be wasting my time? Like obviously I could return the game, but so that's how I found people on YouTube were actually doing, gaming walkthroughs. And that's when it first started back in like 2013. People were kind of doing like machinimas and stuff, but nobody was really doing, I would say, content creation as it was back then.
Yeah.
So I only found a few people, but I was like, yo, this is really, really cool. And it always kind of stuck in the back of my mind, like this would be cool to kind of do or get into. But there wasn't like tutorial videos or really
Yeah.
anything like it is now, like how to get into it. So it just stuck in the back of my mind. And once I met my wife and stuff, and we got together, we got our own place and all that stuff, I was just like, I can't go out and work, obviously. Um, and I was trying to figure out something I could do to keep my mind off of just, life in general. And that's when I started poking around and learning like what components and stuff I needed to do to get back into this content creation thing because it popped back in my head again. And that's pretty much when I just started. I used to use a really old MacBook Pro. I don't know how I was able to record like Minecraft back in the day because that was super popular back then. But that's pretty much where it started, and that's where my name originated from. Was just Minecraft, and then I moved on to getting a capture card to be able to record gaming consoles and stuff, and it just built up over time from then.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. So during that time, was there like a certain game that kind of set the tone for you? Is there a game that really kind of enlightened to understand like what gaming is, and just kind of a game that you'll always remember?
Oh man, there's so many. There's so many. I think Minecraft really caught my interest as far as like I would say the capability of it. So many mods, so many like servers and stuff like that. So it really I would say solidified and set the tone for me to do content creation. But before that, I would say and I'm probably going to get a lot of flack from this from the fans or wherever from Pokemon games, but I still remember one of my favorite games was Pokemon, I think XD Darkness Gale or something like that, or Darkness Gale XD, one of the two, but it's like on GameCube. And it wasn't like a mainstream Pokemon game, but I
Hmm.
remember playing that thing for hours on the GameCube. Other than that, it'll probably be like the Tekken fighting series. Me and my
Yeah.
brother were heavily, heavily into that back on PlayStation 1. And then I would say probably another close runner up would be Halo. Um,
Okay.
I think that's mostly almost for everybody though,
Yeah.
would be Halo on the
Yeah,
Xbox
definitely.
side.
Okay, gotcha. Well, that's cool, and I mean that's kind of unique. I mean, I feel like Minecraft is I don't know, like a lot of people say it's overrated, but I feel like it's still kind of underrated because if you
Oh
truly
yeah.
think about it, Minecraft really developed like even just like puzzle solving skills, even something simple like
Hmm.
that. Like that's the beautiful thing that I'll always say anytime that anybody ever tries to bash gaming and go get a job and get off the game and stop streaming, blah blah blah. It's like
Hmm.
gaming will teach you things that many jobs probably couldn't because some things that happen in games are qualifications for jobs that you would literally have to go to college for to be able to
Hmm.
experience and stuff. And Minecraft, even
Oh
though
yeah.
it's as crazy to think as a little dumb kids game as Minecraft, there's a lot of
Oh
like
yeah.
really big things that would kind of help develop your inner structure of your head, to really understand problem solving and mind games and stuff.
Oh yeah. Because like when I was in the military, I was 25 Bravo, which is a information technology specialist, which is kind of like glorified help desk. But we worked with a lot of software, and honestly, that helped learning to not only run my own server because there wasn't too many back then where you could nowadays just purchase a server online. So
Right.
sometimes you had to run it from your computer, especially trying to run it on a Mac. So I was able to do that and then like upload mods and stuff and learning like kind of like JavaScripting and all that stuff like that. Like that kind of helped out that I had that knowledge, obviously from a previous experience. But like if you actually look at it, like you said, Minecraft is really slept on as far as like what you can do with the game and how it can translate to jobs and stuff, especially nowadays. And the people say that a lot about the video game industry, but people don't realize like how much the gaming industry, let alone the entertainment industry, is actually worth as far as in a money sense. And it's a lucrative business to be in, especially I would say even more so nowadays. So people are really behind the times when they say you should stop gaming or you shouldn't be into gaming or gaming's only for kids and stuff like that. It's usually people who don't really have knowledge, I would say, about the industry.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with that. So for the gaming side of things, is there? I know that gaming obviously is not all of course, what you do, but is there a certain main game that you play all the time, or are you kind of a variety streamer, just kind of play other things?
Um, For the longest time, I was playing Destiny. I was really known, I would say, throughout the community as far as like my friends and stuff goes was Destiny. But like I said, I played a Minecraft for a long, long time.
Hmm.
And then I got, like I said, into Destiny. And then Destiny just kind of fell off for me. I just wasn't really like what they were doing as far as like from a PvP aspect because I love those types of games.
Yeah.
So I kind of switched over to Apex and Call of Duty. I learned what Call of Duty sniping was and stuff like that. And I was kind of late to the game, I would say, on that aspect. But the community, at least the people that I've met, was very open and very supportive as far as like telling me how to, I guess, do everything and what I needed to learn and stuff. So FPS is just in general, I would say, is more my bread and butter.
Yeah.
I'm not by far like an esports player pro or something like that, or just always hitting clips and stuff, but it's just something that I really am drawn to as far as just enjoyment altogether. But like I said, I could sit back and play like Pixelmon, which is the Minecraft
Hmm.
mod for
Yeah.
Pokemon or whatever. I could sit back and play that, you know what I'm saying? So it's definitely a variety, but my bread and butter, like I said, is definitely FPS games.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I understand for sure. That's good. So with the gaming background and everything that you've experienced, we talked about, roughly your childhood and seemed like gaming was a very big thing that kind of helped you get through some of your time in, the can't think of the name. Uh,
The Army.
yeah, Army. I can't think of the name. I had brain fart. Sorry. Thanks. But
Yeah, you're
seemed
good.
seemed like it was a big help for that. So do you think it's important for other people that are in the army? Because I'm sure that there's a lot of them that's like, oh, gaming is dumb or whatever. Because like I know that there's a good bit of them have like a little small window of downtime that they just sit there and
Mhm.
scroll on TikTok or watch YouTube videos or whatever. Do you think it's important that they get into a little hobby in their free time?
Oh yes, I would definitely say, especially on deployments, I would. I would say it's very, very important. Unfortunately, if people are in this position that I was in, especially like the unit I was a part of and the position that I had to work at the post, your downtime can be very limited. And most of the people that I personally knew had like families, significant others, like children and stuff like that. So if they did get any free time, especially having that time difference, they would, try to contact them and see
Hmm.
them and stuff, especially when you're gone for like a year. Or
Yeah.
sometimes some people will be gone for a little bit longer than that. Um, so, you have to be wise with your free time and everything. But I do think, even if it's not video games, I do think there is an importance that I think both, if you have a spouse or significant other, both y'all have to understand that from a military, I would say a mental perspective, you have to have your own alone time, your
Hmm.
own time to do self care, reflect mentally, and stuff like that, or just get that pent up aggression, or just self soothe, whatever you want to call it, for yourself. And usually the escape for a lot of people is video games. And I do think it's very, very important. And I think if you ask any really mental health specialist or something like that, they will advocate for, that person finding that release.
Yeah.
For some people, it's video gaming. For some people, it's going out to like maybe a racetrack or something like that, playing some kind of sports, going to the gym, whatever it may be. But gaming can be, especially if you have friends you're playing with, it could definitely get the endorphins going and really relieve a lot of stress from your day to day. And I think that's what a lot of people who, like briefly touched on earlier, don't really understand the concept of gaming. They're like, oh, you're just sitting on the couch with your buddies, like in the voice chat or wherever, and you're playing for 2 hours.
Yeah.
You're just wasting your time. And it's like, you don't understand what that person is going through, especially from a perspective of being in the military and being in like certain units and stuff and having to deal with people who you can't really bring up complaints about because they outrank you and stuff like that.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't grasp how tough and how really hard it can be for certain people. Um, so, like I said, those 2 hours of gaming might be a life-saving thing, not only for them, but the people around them, you know what I'm saying, that care about that person. So, yeah, I would say if they could get some gaming in or to get like some gym time in or something like that, or even just, spending some just quiet time with their significant other or their kids, like it's very important.
Yeah. So on that topic, kind of something I was thinking about while you was talking.
Mhm.
I don't, I've not really been in that field, and I don't really understand a lot of that stuff. But when you're on deployment or stationed somewheres or whatever, is there usually like Wi-Fi and stuff there, or is it just all like offline and stuff? Like you can't.
Yeah, there usually is some kind of well, I can't say what it's called, I think.
Right.
But there's usually, they call it MWR,
Hmm.
but there's usually some kind of like I would say public access Wi-Fi kind of, or like internet or wherever, to where you could back in the day before Discord was a thing, you could Skype somebody, like video chat them.
Right.
Um, or they will have what we used to call Roshan phones or wherever, that you could get over there and get like little cards. And sometimes the units will give out little cards or wherever that give you time so you can call
Hmm.
it back home and stuff like that. So you don't have to worry about like doing roaming or wherever with your plan because you might not have connection, stuff like
Yeah.
that. So there was ways for you to definitely contact, but usually that would have to be done in your free time or your days off, even though some units like mine didn't have days off.
Hmm.
But it usually would be between that at the discretion of the unit, because usually at work you couldn't do that. And because of the job I was in, they could literally tell if you logged into like Facebook or you were surfing the internet. Like
Hmm.
they can see IP address and see an account and all that stuff. So again, you would have to usually do that on your free time though.
Okay.
So,
Gotcha.
but yeah,
So
there's definitely ways for them to do it.
has there
Depending
ever?
on, because I just thought of it. Sorry.
You're good. You're good.
Depending on where you were stationed, though, if you were at a PRT or like a FOB or something like that, for operating base, and not actually like a base, um, your internet connection and like certain satellites and stuff that you would have to set up. Like my kind of unit would have to go out and set up for the guys. Some of those places didn't really have that, so you might get lucky with a cell phone call, other
Mhm.
than like being able to Skype. So there was going to be some kind of, I would say, limitations, especially since we had just got there kind of, and we're still setting up like networks and stuff. But some places, like if we have already been there, there's something established already, you could probably get a video call out.
Yeah, okay, gotcha. So has there ever been circumstances where you can play online while you're, I mean, maybe not on
Mm,
deployment, but like
I, on deployment,
right,
I wouldn't try it. I don't think you
right.
could. And that's why, like, when people talk about um, why do we need to be online for certain games, I definitely am an advocate for that because I don't think a lot of game companies realize that certain people on deployment, like where I was aware of, the internet connection, even though I had some, wasn't really that good. So
Yeah.
there was really hard to find games that I could still play offline and not need to be connected to some kind of internet and have a good connection in
Yeah.
order to enjoy them. So I do think there is a reason why we should still have games not needing to be online. It's just kind of like a thing that I think should still be available, I guess, to people who are going to play on consoles or even like on a PC or something like that.
Right.
But in different countries, obviously, if we're, like I said, established bases there or wherever, you're going to have decent, especially if like you're in a barracks or which is like on post housing for soldiers who are not, married or have significant others or children or of a certain rank. They stay like it's like school dorms, I guess, dormitories or wherever
Yeah.
the civilian side of it. You do sometimes have internet connections there as well, which probably you will be able to play online with.
Okay, gotcha. I was wondering because a lot of everybody that's a part of the military and anything, you're away from your significant other for a long time, and I know a lot of them, like my buddy Leif Eats Lemons, he does tons of Discord calls, like usually every night with his woman and stuff to hang out with her. But I think that's kind of a unique thing, to. I think it's important to get your significant other, your spouse, your family kind of into gaming because there's games that you can play together and you could be in like a
Oh
little
yeah.
voice chat or something. And I think that would be kind of cool. And that would, especially for whether either if you don't have the best relationship or maybe you're just really clingy and you're just not used to being away from somebody a long time, I feel like that would be a really efficient way to alleviate the pressure of being gone. Would you say the same
Oh yeah.
thing?
I would definitely say, I know there are some instances where if somebody does get stationed overseas, sometimes their significant other would have to show up later or, still stay in the States for whatever reason. Maybe it's not that long of a deployment or TDY or whatever.
Hmm.
But like I said, those bases are usually a little bit more established. So they could do like a Discord call, video chat, or just play some kind of game or something like that. So I know that's possible. But like I said, sometimes depending on where they are on the actual deployment, the internet connection might not just allow it, unfortunately. So,
Okay, gotcha. Cool. Yeah, awesome. I was just it just brought some light while you was talking, so it was really cool. And maybe, and I think that's
mm,
kind of last question I'll ask for. I kind of push the topic over just as I'm trying to think of this topic. Is there certain people? Let me turn that down a little bit. Is there certain people that maybe haven't got into gaming or the internet thing, just saying like, oh, that's dumb or whatever, that really don't understand how well they could utilize it? Like they may see it as like annoying or pesky or that's dumb in gaming, but they don't see it as a way to connect with their family or their others. Do you think?
I mean, yes, but I think how diverse gaming has been as far as like different genres and stuff like that of games, I do think there is a game out there for someone. You know what
Hmm.
I'm saying? Like there's definitely a genre. They probably just haven't found it yet, or whatever their significant other is playing um just doesn't pique their interest. Like there's my wife wouldn't play like a FPS, you know what I'm saying? But
Hmm.
we have in the past played like Minecraft like on the Xbox
Yeah.
briefly, and she kind of enjoyed it. Um, but we've played, some other games. She might have like played some games on her phone, even though, that's an argument in itself. Is it
Right.
really gaming? But yeah, I do think there's ways for people to pass the time. Like when I was sitting, because there's a saying in the military, hurry up and wait. You get there early, like 15 minutes prior before anything or whatever, and then you wait to an hour after you were supposed to start.
Hmm.
So like on my phone, I would have like this game. I think it was called Bubble Birds or something like that, which is just like matching the color, blow up balloons, like thing or whatever. And I would play that, and that just helped pass the time, and I got enjoyment out of it. So I mean, there's different genres out there. There's different ways of playing and stuff. So you just have to find and you just have to take the time to like I said, find the genre that you enjoy. And if you're trying to get your significant other into gaming or something like that, don't be afraid to try a game that's outside the genre that you particularly might what I'm saying, not be really interested in or never thought of, because that might be the game that gets that person into gaming, even if it's the only game they ever play.
Yeah.
um, so I definitely would say keep an open mind, especially if you're trying to win somebody over. Just saying like, no, this is like the best type of game to play, and if you don't like it, then I don't know what to tell you. Like that's not the way to. It's
Right.
not the way to do things.
Okay, gotcha. So another thing, I know that you do your product reviews and stuff on your channel. Have
Hmm.
you? I think I've seen a couple game reviews. I looked over your channel just very, very briefly before we started this. I think I've seen a couple game reviews. But have you ever thought of making content like that? I feel like you have a very extravagant mind for this type of topic, and I feel like it could be
Hmm.
beneficial to appeal to that type of audience to maybe help them. And have you ever thought of stuff like that, like top 10 best games to play with your significant other or something like that?
Um, I know there's a channel out there. I forget the name of it, but it kind of does that. Um, so I have like seen that kind of content before and
Hmm.
have thought of it. Um, But what kind of got me into realizing that product reviews was kind of the thing was like another half of it that I didn't mention earlier.
Hmm.
And you made me think about it now.
Oh, you're fine.
Is the fact of when I was playing Destiny 2, uh, towards the end of my time playing it, I think it was like around, if anybody plays it, they will know around Forsaken came out. I started kind of doing DLC reviews or like updates reviews when they would come out. And like you said, because of the way I think and stuff like that, I was very detailed. I was like really unbiased about how I felt. So if it was bad or I didn't like it or wherever, I would like pick apart it or overanalyze it. And due to my mental illness, because I did that, people didn't really like that because they're so
Mm.
infatuated with the game and stuff like that. And I realized like, because I used to kind of do weapon reviews in the same way, but there was more people who were getting into the math of the kind of stuff, and I didn't really care
Mm,
about going that deep into it.
gotcha.
So I tried, like I said, switching and pivoting to doing the DLCs and stuff, and people didn't like it. The
Mm.
videos got decent amount of views, but it was more so people getting angry with me because I was like, "How dare you talk about a game that I love?"
Yeah.
Type of thing. So I was like, "Yeah, this is not where this is not the space for me," kind of
Well,
thing. Um, and then, like I said, a few years later, I would say like 3 years later, I ended up doing you know product reviews. So I was still able to use my knowledge and the way I think about things in order to do product reviews, because then it's like two camps. People can understand where I'm coming from or stuff like that. It's kind of like more relatable because the way I think, you actually have to think that way when it comes to products. Um, Whereas when it comes to gaming, people are like, you better be careful what you say about what I like.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Which I still somewhat run into that sometimes when I talk about a company in particular that might be beloved in the
Right.
community. I still feel like a little bit of opposition when it comes to that. But the gamers, man, the
Yeah.
gamers are a different beast.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I understand. Well, I mean, I'm like, I hate that for you, but I'm also glad. I mean, because it does kind of sound like you didn't, let it go. It may not be the same exact content, but it's still the same idea. So
Yeah.
I like that. I like that you still kept that because you still kept your passion for what you wanted to do, just off of a different, aspect of it. So that's cool.
Mhm.
So we've talked tons about gaming in different ways and tips for creators, especially for the military. Shout out to them, of course,
Mhm.
anybody watching. Let's kind of go through a little bit of the streaming side. Where did streaming kind of come into play for you, and how'd you get into it?
Um, Again, going back to Destiny, I had it on the Xbox 360, and then when I was able to somehow miraculously, because my paycheck was so low when I first got out, somehow I forget how it was, but I was able to get Xbox One.
Mm,
And back then they had the ability to stream directly to Twitch, and you could snap the chat or the Twitch app or whatever to the side of the screen, so you were able to read chat.
right.
Like I didn't have alerts and like really a camera for the longest time until I got a
It's
PC.
just a bare minimum.
Um, but yeah, just the bare minimum, and I started doing that, and I started just really enjoying playing PvP live, some PvE stuff, but just mostly PvP live. And I just pretty much started from there as far as getting into streaming, and then slowly built up my setup from there. But uh, then like I said, I ended up getting a PC. So, I had the little cheapo webcam and
Mhm.
like just everything was really cheap and budget and stuff. Right when I think it was a little bit after Twitch went to Twitch from Justin TV and stuff.
Mhm.
Um, and just like I think that was a really underrated thing, I would think, from the console side of things, is being able to actually just stream
Oh
directly
yeah,
to,
yeah. It
Twitch.
revolutionized it for sure.
Yeah. So it was just really simple, really easy to do. And I enjoyed it. And I think at the time, I actually enjoyed it more so than actually just sitting down recording. Because back then, a lot of people didn't do a lot of over editing. You know what I'm saying? It
Yeah.
was just like you sit down for like 30 minutes, you cut it down in like literally in half, and you just upload it. You know what I'm saying? Maybe make a thumbnail if you felt like it.
Right.
But I just really love streaming. So I was streaming for long periods of time before we kind of realized, like, hey, streaming for like 8 to 10 hours a day is not really going to help you grow, especially
Yeah.
on an undiscoverable platform or wherever, or hard to just be discovered on a platform.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's roughly, I would say that was 2000 midway through 2015, almost towards the end. I want to say that's when I started getting into streaming.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's pretty good. I didn't really get into streaming itself till like 2017 for me.
Mhm.
I've been gaming since 2014, but 2016 was when I really started understanding the space, and I got into it. Was so dumb. I honestly I wish I still had this video, but I deleted it. But I would
Mhm.
copy other people's content on purpose of like GTA 5 story mission stuff, like the briefcase underneath the water. I'd have like my
Mhm.
phone and a shoe, and it'd be pointed towards like my TV, and I'd like sit in between so I can like point at the screen and stuff and like talk about what I'm
Oh
doing.
yeah.
And it was cringy, but it is funny to think back on. But I did a little bit of YouTube before I started, really. And honestly, for me, it was a little bit different because I did YouTube and Instagram. Actually, I didn't really know
Mhm.
anything about the streaming space. I knew that there was a
Mhm.
space for YouTube, and there was a lot of different groups on Instagram that had a lot of GTA 5 stuff, of the online stuff and the story mode stuff, and I was just
Mhm.
all over. Like I was waking up every day, just making little dumb posts about things that everybody already knew, but like little kid feeds. It was like, ah, this is sick. Everybody's gonna love it, and it got like 5 likes. I'm like, well, somebody loved it, you know. But yeah, I remember those times. It was
Yeah.
crazy. So before we kind of go forward a little bit, which I will kind of touch back on this whole streaming topic and maybe different
Mhm.
pieces of advice for creators and stuff, I want to highlight something specifically from your background that you said where you started
Mhm.
with the bare minimum. The reason why I said that while you were talking and brung that up is because I feel like that is a very, very heavily underrated thing nowadays because a
Oh yeah.
lot of people don't want to start making content until they look enjoyable. And I feel like that's obviously a very wrong mindset to have. So, kind of take me
Mhm.
through the mindset of why it's important to start out with the bare minimum rather than wait till a year, two, three later to actually do what you want to do in the first place.
Well, I would say before um there's how do I put this? I'm trying to figure out how to word this. Um Before people even really, I would say before they even purchase any items and stuff like that, it's always very important. I've always said this, to self-educate yourself. Even if it's outside of content creation, you should always try to self-educate yourself. There's nothing wrong with being book smart. I am unfortunately not able to be book smart. I'm more of a hands-on, learn things or whatever from my surroundings kind of learning. So I would say I'm smart in that aspect, but there's nothing wrong with learning everything before you start doing stuff. So before you even start spending like $1 on like a webcam or a keyboard or looking at different monitors, or if you're going to stream from PC or console, before you do all that, you should learn as much as possible about content creation and how stuff works before you even like record your first video. And it's not necessarily like algorithm, it's learning like how much is this going to cost over time. um, what software, as far as editing and stuff goes, you should learn a software, what I'm saying, as far as like what you're going to get, because some software is free, some software you're going to have to pay for. What I'm saying, you should look at your budget, because some of this stuff is monthly subscriptions, as far as certain, like I said, editing software, or maybe a one-time purchase and stuff. And like I said, really, really think about, because do you want to use a camera? Do you want to use a webcam? Like I said, do you want to buy a console, or maybe you're just going to be strictly PC? If you're going to do strictly PC, you got to get a PC that's going to be good enough to stream and edit and stuff and play video games all at once. So like learning about the budget and what you can work with and stuff, all that stuff is very important before you even, like I said, get into content creation. So I would say, do that. And there's nothing wrong with a budget setup, you know. But when it comes to certain items, I would say you don't want to go the budget route for. Let's say for instance, the Logitech C920 webcam. A lot of people use that. I used it back in the day, when it first came out. But every iteration of that Logitech webcam, the sensor is way too old. Especially nowadays. I think the latest one is like 2020, 2021 or something like that. The last one iteration came out. Even with that, the sensor is way too old. There's enough webcams out there. You can find a decent one from OnSpot, which is a company I worked with in the past for doing a review. But you can find one that has 4K 30 for $150 on Amazon right now. So for certain items, I would say you don't need to go over $200 for it. And I know a lot of people will say that's super expensive, they can't afford it and stuff like that. And that's why I would suggest, doing that whole budget, knowing how much you can spend on getting your setup. And there's ways, and there's a lot of products that are available nowadays that you can get that are like $50 or like $60 or something like that, to make your streams look good, or your content to look good or decent or something like that. That capability wasn't really there for us back in the day when we first started, you know what I mean? So there's nothing wrong with getting budget. I know some people would be like, I want a camera that does 4K 120 and all this stuff. And it's like, if you realize, like, even for my budget camera that I'm using right now, it's like almost a $600 camera. And then the lens itself, it's like $300. A lot of people ain't gonna have that money to be able to do that. But you can find a really budget camera that can do 4K for around $500. So it's like certain things you can't skip out on, like your PC. If you want a good camera or wherever, you're going to spend a little bit of chunk of change, but stuff like RGB lighting that's lighting me right now, like stuff like that, that can be below $100. You just have to do your research. And when it comes to that aspect of things, I would say for newer content creators, here's a secret tip. Don't look at gear that's specifically targeted towards streaming. I would say look at budget items that you can find that's more towards photography and videography. What I mean by that is like maybe vlogging type stuff or music video productions and stuff like that. Because those products, you can find a lot of it for under $100. And like I said earlier, I don't think anybody should really, other than specific items like actual cameras, maybe some lenses, maybe your actual computer and stuff like that, and maybe your computer desk, depending on how sturdy you want it. None of it should be over $200 for a single items purchase. None of them should be under $200, and that's something I've learned through over almost 2 years of doing product reviews. None of the products or wherever really need to be over that. And if you're going over that $200 price point for a single item, it's because there's enough there that warrants that price point. As far as what you're going to get from that content creation, the ability or whatever. But like I said, budget items, a lot of people, when they think of budget items, like I said, they think of that C920. Like 1080p 30 frames per second webcam that doesn't look really good in comparison to other sensors that are out nowadays for just webcams alone. Or they think about like a ring light or something like that to actually like light themselves when I've mentioned it before to like on my streams and stuff like that, but there's a little light behind me wherever it's not the Elgato key light. It's actually a Godox light. The Godox ES45s. I bought one of these lights for my friend for $100 on B&H Photo. It comes with like an actual physical device where you can turn the light off and stuff like that. And you don't have to worry about like software and stuff like that. And if you color temperature correct as far as like your cameras or webcam or whatever, you can get decent looking lighting wherever from it. The Elgato key light at the time or wherever was like $200 just for one. Now I think it's a little bit lower than $200, but it's like you see what I'm saying? Like there's ways to do stuff, but a lot of people wouldn't know about the company Godox because again, they're for the videography, photography and stuff like that. But a lot of these companies want to get into the space for streamers and content creators who do gaming content. But there's already established companies there that are overcharging people, and people think who are trying to get into gaming or streaming that these are the only companies that exist out there because they won't self-educate themselves. See how we went back full circle?
Yeah. No, 100%. I mean, I fully agree, and I think that's definitely the meta, you would say, nowadays. I mean, there's all these companies that everybody buys for and goes to just because that's kind of the wave or whatever. But if it's like, it sounds so dumb to so many people, but if you would simply just put in 30 extra minutes to research it, look up some, because there's hundreds and thousands of YouTube videos on, cool things for your streaming setup and blah, blah, blah. You could go and check those out and stuff. And it's like, to a lot of people, they kind of see it as like annoying or like a little cringe. You're like, oh, I don't need that. But it's like, you may watch that and like 9 of the 10 items may be stupid, but then that one item, you're like, oh, like, I was going to buy that exact same thing for $170, and this thing's got it here for 40.
Yeah, that's why I said like a lot of people, like we were talking about budget. Like I said, there's some things that you just don't want to cheap out on. And one of those things, like I said, is lighting. I see a lot of people using ring lights or wherever. Those are not meant for what people use it in the streaming community and stuff, or like a gaming or wherever. And it's one of those things that bugs me when I see a ring light in a setup, and I'm like, you're not really using what it's technically for. This is not what it's for.
Yeah.
So, but like they'll go out and buy that or wherever, and it's like if you would have just saved up $50 or maybe even $80, you could have got yourself an actual good light, and then maybe next month get you a nice little soft box to attach it to really get that soft lighting on yourself and everything. But like I said, a lot of people they will get the bare minimum to get up and running, but it's like your bare minimum, the quality of it could be increase like tenfold if you would have just saved up just a little bit more, did a little bit more research or wherever, and do the bare minimum. Because like I said, at least technically the camera and the lens I'm using is very budget when you look in the realm of cameras and stuff like that. But the picture quality looks good.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The RGB lighting that I have wherever in my space, wherever, none of it other except for like maybe one item is over $100.
Yeah.
And look what I was able to do. You know what I mean? Like there's ways to do it. You just, again, you have to do the research. And a lot of people, like we talked about briefly, when they go into like YouTube videos and stuff like that, they only hear about those certain companies. And because so many people get paid from those companies or they get free products from those companies, you just hear that repetitive name of only this company. Hey, this company, this company, this company. And it's like, well, if I want something, I have to get that company. And it's like, nah.
Yeah, I feel like it's an Illuminati of gaming companies because that's their cycles. You buy it and then you're thinking about doing something else and they're like, hey, if you want to continue to use us, here's a code. And they're like, oh, well, I guess I'll just keep buying more of your stuff because you're sponsoring me. And it's just around and around and around and around. So yeah, I definitely understand. So to just switch up, which you kind of already mentioned this already, just kind of a little bit off topic of what we talked about earlier is your name, your branding. Of course, Squid, where you call it. You said you got that from Minecraft, which I kind of feel like maybe it's a simple story, but kind of take me through it and how did that come to be your branding of what you are now?
It was actually like a YouTuber who, because like I mentioned, I do hip hop dancing, and
Hmm.
there was some dancers that I watched, and a dude had uploaded a video he edited of a dancers that I actually really enjoyed watching or whatever. And I was like, oh, this edit's really cool. And I was like, since this guy is constantly going to kind of do this stuff or whatever, I just subscribed to his channel. Well, one day he uploaded a video of Minecraft, and I was like, oh, he plays Minecraft? That's pretty cool. I'll check it out or whatever. And it was an advertisement because they were trying to get more people to join the server
Hmm.
and everything. And I got the code or wherever, and that was so weird because like I joined the server and the guy was actually on, and they were asking me like in the chat or wherever the of Minecraft or wherever, like how did I find the server, and I was like, this guy's YouTube channel, and then the YouTuber actually came over and he was like, "Yo, no, thank you for everything," and I was like, "Oh, this is cool, man. I didn't
Yeah.
expect this to happen." Um, but back then, I didn't really know how to get like I would say skins, custom skins in Minecraft and everything. So I was default Steve. Everybody had like really cool skins. And they were like, "Oh, this is how you get skins and stuff like that." And I was just like, "I'm really short on time as far as when I was initially playing, so I didn't have time to go, do that and then come back in the server and stuff." And I was explaining to them, and they're like, "Oh, just open this chest and put an animal head on or wherever," because they're like, it's so weird to see default Steve. So I was
Yeah.
like, "Okay." So I went to the chest and I opened it up, and there was duplicates of all the animal heads or wherever in the game, but there was only one squid. So I ended up putting it on, and everybody got freaked out because there was a whole, I don't know if anybody remembers this, but there was a whole like squid thing. Everybody's against squids in Minecraft for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So everybody was freaking out, like, "Oh, it's a squid, it's a squid." And he's
Yeah.
like, "They put on the squid head." And I was like, "Just call me Squid Head Joe," because my first name is actually Joseph.
Oh
Um,
wow.
and then ever since I said that, in my head, I was like, "Yo, that kind of just rolls off the tongue."
Yeah.
I was like, "I like that." And then, I would say like several months went by. I was playing with the group of people wherever on the servers, and then I learned how to do my own server. So there was some complications with the person who owned the server. So everybody just kind of went and played on my server
Hmm.
eventually. And I was asking the dude who was doing like YouTube, like what programs he was using and all that stuff, wherever. Because again, I was getting out of the military and I was really thinking like I wanted to do content creation. And that's when he kind of told me or wherever. And I had a previous YouTube channel that I kind of like uploaded some dancing clips and just random stuff that I used to do with my friends. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to kind of use this channel for that. And he kind of suggested anyways to, make a brand new channel if I wanted to do it. And he was telling me about certain programs that he used and everything. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make me a new channel. And I was like, I have to come up with a name, and I was already playing with them in the server and stuff. And I was
Yeah.
just like, I remember like using the squid, and I was going around looking for a squid like skin or whatever for Minecraft. And I was just like, you know what? Squid Head Joe. It's gonna be the thing. So I named it that and never looked back.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's actually a really sick story and very unique. The reason why I bring that up is because,
Mhm.
and I say this every single time on my podcast, it really doesn't technically matter what your name is. But like me personally, like my opinion on
Mhm.
it is I just think that it's very impactful that you have some sort of name or branding to you that means
Mhm.
something because at the end of the day, like I said, it doesn't really matter. But when you get to where you want to go on a million subs, a bunch of money, a bunch of people, a bunch of friends or viewers or whatever, when you get there,
Mhm.
it's just kind of like a little bit extra spice on the top, like having a
Oh yeah.
name that you can correlate to this is how I started myself and now look where I'm at. And I think that's why I
Mhm.
always bring it up because I always like hearing the backstory of everybody's names because I think it's very unique to understand where you came from.
Oh yeah. I think nowadays though, we're seeing kind of like a shift. A lot of people are using their actual names, a
Mm,
combination of like maybe their first name and last name, or maybe their middle name or something like that. Because a lot of people are starting to look at it as being a business and it's more professional doing it that way.
yeah.
Or if they're in the tech space, they'll do something tech. Or if they're in a gaming space, they'll do something gaming. So it's just something when you think about your name, really, really, like you said, think about it because that's going to be your branding. So I mean, I kind of did mine off a whim. But I would say nowadays, at least, give it some thought, give it some time, think about what you're going to be doing. What kind of presence do you want online and stuff like that? Do you want to be considered, I would say, taking it more seriously, being a little bit more professional? Do you not really want to use your name or something like that? Maybe just using your middle name like some people do. But yeah, just take some time and thinking about your name because when you start growing and stuff like that, sometimes switching up can actually hurt your I would say you in the algorithm depending on how
Yeah.
well you're doing and everything, and it might be a little bit jarring. I knew like back in the day when I first started, people were switching their name up like all the time. Like I knew I
Yeah.
had friends that used to do that all the time. So just make sure to solidify before you move forward, I would say, with your branding, because it's actually very important, especially if you're thinking about working with companies and stuff, as far as the image that you're portraying online.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I hope that anybody that's listening, I hope that if that applies to you, to just kind of make it to it, because I think that's just a more important thing. Is at the end of the day, as when you're first getting into it, you just think it's a dumb name, and my side of things is it could be something that is a memorable piece, something that you'll always remember forever. And then, of course, obviously, your side of it, it's also a statistical thing. When you get to where you
Mm.
want to be, and then you're like, okay, that actually sounds dumb. Let me do this because it's really cool. And then you're going to drop off, and then you're going to be more pissed off. And so,
Yeah.
it's definitely kind of a it's a double edged sword. And it kind of goes full circle again about the whole research topic. Like it applies to everything. So
Mhm.
that's cool. So we're getting a little bit close to kind of ending it off here. So I want to ask probably one or two more questions before we end off here. Obviously, this podcast focuses a lot about mental health. It's something that's affected you and different circumstances and situations you've been through.
Mhm.
So what advice or tips would you give to creators that maybe they're in a burnout or their content's not doing well, or maybe they want to take a break, or maybe they're just not feeling it anymore and they just think that everything they're doing is pointless and they just want to give up? What advice would you give to try to help them find that factor for themselves again?
Um, I would say as somebody, I don't think I've listed out what it's wrong with me, but I have a bipolar type 2. I have PTSD, which is not post traumatic stress disorder, it's actually a personal traumatic stress disorder,
Hmm.
due to like obviously my deployment and stuff. And I have sleep apnea. I do have some episodes of sleep paralysis. I'm supposed to have a sleep PAP machine. I have migraines that just come and go. There's no really, doctors don't understand it. I have a overuse muscle in my left shoulder, so there's a lot. And then I have, a son now that's about to be 1 years old in
Wow.
February, and he's having a whole bunch of like medical issues with reflux and
Mhm.
stuff. And then obviously I have a wife and stuff. And then trying to juggle working with companies and getting products out the door as far as like doing videos, editing, and then dancing and streaming. And like there's a lot of hats. So I
Yeah.
completely understand when somebody feels like spread too thin or burnout and stuff like that. But you have to realize why you got into content creation in the first place. And you have to, no matter where you are at in your journey, make sure that you're constantly making content that you actually enjoy yourself. And if you're finding that you're not enjoying the type of content that you are making, then it's time, and that's a telltale sign for you to switch it up. That's what I learned. I was hitting a brick wall with gaming content. I wasn't really growing as much. I only had, for years, only had 500 subs on my YouTube channel. I switched to doing product reviews. YouTube did lower their standards to 500 subs now for monetization, but back then it wasn't there yet.
Yeah.
And I seen the growth. Like I hit over 1,000 subs not too long ago. We're almost to 1,200 subs now on the YouTube channel, and that's because I switched over to product reviews, and I find it more enjoyable. Like, yes, I still love playing video games. Yes, sometimes I do get burned out on the certain genre. Like, I don't play Apex too much now. I just mostly Call of Duty. But once I get bored of Call of Duty, I'll go back to Apex. But I still stream, I still play video games even offline, but my what I enjoy more is like unboxing stuff, doing the videos for product reviews, shooting the B-roll, stuff like that, learning about cameras and technology and everything. And that's because I shifted the type of content I did into something that was more enjoyable for me. So you have to make sure the type of content that you're doing, whatever it is something that you still enjoy. And there's nothing wrong with feeling like, hey, the thing I used to enjoy, a couple months ago or like a couple years ago is something that I no longer enjoy. And I think a lot of people, it stems from they're scared because they've been doing gaming content for so long. They don't know what other type of content they can do. So they'll switch up the games or switch up the format as far as are they doing short form content? Are they posting on TikTok, YouTube Shorts, and no longer doing long form content as far as sitting down and recording stuff? Or maybe they'll stop live streaming and just record and everything. And it's like, maybe that's a sign that you should start doing something else like vlogs or photography or, something else that's still within content creation because you love doing that. But it might not, like I said, might not be in the gaming space. And as far as mental health, excuse me, there's nothing wrong with taking a break. There's nothing wrong with even if it's a couple days, a week or something like that, taking a vacation. Some people feel like even when they do vlogs and stuff like that, taking a camera with them, they still like feel like they're on the job. Because content creation is a 24-hour thing or whatever, 7 days a week, 365. That's just how algorithms, that's just the stage we're at with content creation, period. You have to be continuously making content, uploading, connecting with people on social media, all that stuff. And sometimes you just need a break. That's why, like for me, I'm never on TikTok. Unless I upload a video wherever, I don't really watch people's videos on TikTok, even my friends and stuff. I love them to death. But TikTok is not a platform that I really even care about.
Right.
I have it installed, obviously, on my phone, and I obviously upload from time to time, but I don't endlessly scroll. And that's where I think a lot of people don't disconnect themselves. When they're done streaming or recording a video and they upload it to YouTube, they never disconnect from social media. And that's another way it's going to contribute to your burnout because you're just always on social media. You're uploading TikToks, you're uploading YouTube Shorts, you're constantly working on the algorithm, uploading stuff. But then when you're done with your content creation, you're watching everybody else's content creation.
Yeah.
You're not putting the phone down. You're not pushing yourself away from the desk. You're not going to spend time with your significant other, hanging out with friends, spending time with your children if you have them. And everything like that. And your days and life is just passing you by and you're just stuck and sucked up into social media. That's why when people would be like, you're missing out by not uploading to every single platform. And I just look at them like that's one of the worst advice that anybody can give anybody is to upload to every single platform out there. That I think honestly that is one of the worst advice, and it's actually contributing to a lot of people's burnouts and mental issues when it comes to mentally breaking down over content creation. And why I think a lot of people are leaving when you see like the big content creators who are like, hey, I'm done with content creation for a bit, I don't know when I'm coming back, or they talk about burnout and stuff, and they're having what people would consider a successful career and making tons of money or wherever, and they're like, how can you just walk away from this?
Yeah.
And it's like I said earlier, it's because they never put down social media. Even if they hire like a social media management team, they have multiple people they're working with and everything, it turns into a business instead of something that they were actually doing because they enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And that's, like I said, you have to unplug yourself. You have to, even if it's like a couple days or wherever out of a month, or maybe every other month, like I said, taking a couple of days off, or making sure you get that vacation time in, making sure you, like people say, go out and touch grass and stuff like that. And you're like, oh, I'm not going to do that. Like this whole meme stuff about it. But it's actually very, very important for you to get, daylight. It's not necessarily the grass part. It's you actually need the sun to survive. You know what I mean? So going out, even if it's like for a 5-minute walk, even if it's just to clear your head.
Go check your mail.
Yeah, go check your mail, take out the trash, say something like that. Like you need that just physically, like your body needs that. But again, having that break, and I'm talking about like unplug yourself, not walking to the mailbox being like, man, I gotta get those two shorts out.
Been a good day today, huh?
Yeah, I gotta edit, when I get back in there. Oh, I could do this and that and the third. No, like if you have to turn physically off your PC and turn off your phone or wherever and ditch it or wherever for a little bit and sit down and watch I would say a cheap, crappy movie with your significant other, like a campy movie or something, like you got to do that. You know what I'm saying? My wife, she doesn't really like anime or whatever, but every now and then when I go and watch my son for a bit, when it's my time to watch him, we'll sit down and watch anime. We'll
Yeah.
sit down and watch like, YouTube videos or something like that, or just talk and stuff like that. And it's like, you need that. It's
Yeah.
very, very important. And like I said, that I think that's contributing to a lot of, if not the number one factor to a lot of people reaching burnout and having mental exhaustion because they're like, I'm streaming here for 8 hours, 10 hours. Why I'm still stuck at 2 viewers? You know what I'm saying? It's the platform not being discoverable, or, I need to learn more about algorithms and all this stuff. And it's like, it's good to know algorithms. It's good to know every aspect of your content creation, but at the end of the day, it should not be at the detriment to your mental health or even your physical health, I would say. Because a lot of people, when it comes to content creation, that's one thing they also forget that also contributes to your mental health is your physical health.
Yeah.
So again, if you're sitting there for 8-10 hours a day, wherever streaming and stuff, that stuff is going to catch up to you, even if you're in your early 20s. Like that stuff is going to catch up to you really, really fast. You have to, even if you're not hitting the gym, like I said, 5-minute walk every day or twice a day or something, at least, stretching your body and everything like that. That stuff is very, very important.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm kind of the same exact way to pretty much everything you just said. I apply to it in two different ways. Like me and my fiance usually either every night or every other night, we usually try to find a solid series that we'll watch for a long time. We started out with, I can't remember all of it, but it originally started with Hell's Kitchen. We watched that religiously. We'd always go out. At the end of the day, we would either get food or she would cook food, and then we would watch an episode or two. And we've watched like Suits and some other shows. And right now we're on Game of Thrones. And so usually every night or every other night we'll go and we'll sit down for about an hour. We'll ditch our phones, blah, 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 just chill out. And, that's the best form of being able to kind of be released and just to be able to just kind of forget everything. Because I feel like as much as gaming is a safe space and a getaway from things, it's still kind of like a very stressful thing because when you're gaming and then you start thinking about your problems that's still going on, then you're also like not really getting away from it because then you're gaming and then you're in the mindset of being upset about it. And what you said earlier about, finding different avenues of content and stuff, the same exact thing applies to me. I mean, as everybody knows, I usually do I kind of pick and choose which podcast I say this on because I say the same exact thing every time about my name, where it come from. Obviously, very, very simply, I'm just a sniper, where the name Feeds originated from in very simple, non-story talk terms.
You're known as Feeds. I've seen the clips. I've seen the pictures on Twitter.
But
definitely.
But I love COD. Don't get me wrong. I mean, everybody knows this. I love COD. I love being able to hit clips. I love people seeing the reactions. I've been in 200 to 300 different montages, and I love it. And it's awesome. And I don't know if I'll ever stop, but it's something I'll always do. But definitely here recently, especially with last year, I've said this a bunch of times, 2023 was the worst year I ever had, especially financially. I was unemployed for a lot of times, had a lot of personal stuff go on, and I was in the worst mindset I've ever been in. And it wasn't until the end of that year where things started looking up and I got a good employer and blah, blah, blah. And that's when I kind of ramped up my podcast, and I'd wanted to do it for a long time. I already told you this a little bit before we'd started, but I was just in this mindset of I was afraid to network and what would they say? What would I even talk about? How would I be awkward? Would I say a question that's offensive? Blah, 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 blah. Just all these things in my head. So I've wanted to do it for a long time, but I always held myself back. And so now I do, as you've seen, my COD clips and stuff on Twitter, and then I do my streams. But my YouTube, I now, as of this past 2 months, I keep completely separate. I don't like doing COD content on YouTube. For me, it's way too competitive. It's very algorithmish, hashtag times, certain way to edit your video, certain clips that you hit. If I hit a 7 on in War, a lot of people get upset with me because it's the easier standard game, even though they can't go and do it themselves. So, it's just it's this whole thing, and just like I said at the very beginning too, I don't like dealing with drama. I don't want to argue with somebody that my standards should apply more than theirs or whatever. I'm just here to have fun. And when I do it on stream and Twitter, I'm having fun. When I do it on YouTube, I'm not. And so when I go on YouTube, I do this podcast, that's going on. And then I also have another YouTube, which is actually my original YouTube that I've now transitioned into beatbox reactions. I've loved beatboxing for a long time, and I loved watching. The biggest platform is called Swiss Beatbox. And for anybody, this isn't telling you to do it, just for anybody watching, if you ever wanted to dive into that and understand it, it's a wonderful way to be able to make content and kind of go into a reaction side, because it still kind of is a reaction channel, but it's for like a different, it's for the beatbox community. But I do that, in my free time, and that's my content, and that's my main long form videos. So I have that, and then my podcast, and then if I have some time to stream or throw some clips, I'll just go and hit a couple clips and stream and just, chill out and just pass some time. And I think that's the more important thing. I think a lot of people look at it as, I definitely would agree that you don't need to post a bunch of random games. If you're a variety streamer, you definitely need to have some type of way to make it appealing to where it's about you instead of the game. Because if you post clips and content of variety gaming, if you do it in a sense to where it's about the game, then your content's going to be very misleading, because they're not going to see that all the time. But I'm a huge advocate for, you can have a mainstream game or a variety game or whatever, but keep it to where you want your audience to find it. And so, just like I said, for me, for my COD clips and everything, I keep that on Twitter and my streams, and I'll tap in and check people out. But on YouTube, it's just something that I don't do. And same exact thing with TikTok. I'm just like you. With TikTok and YouTube Shorts, I'll post it when I feel like it, but it's just too much for me, and a lot of people would look at that saying and be like, oh, like you just don't want it bad enough, or it's just not enjoyable. It's not the fact that I don't want it, it's just the fact that I'm not happy when I'm doing it. And I think that's a more important factor.
That goes to what we were talking about as far as like having that mindset when it comes to content creation. And that's a really good point to bring up, because I think a lot of people, when they come to content creation, they're thinking of it as a monetary, like a way to get, I guess, money out of it. And they're like, you got to have this business mindset behind it, which is fine if that's what you want to eventually do. And a lot of people say, that's the reason why you're doing content creation. None of this, I do it for fun stuff or wherever, but I don't make any money off of it and stuff like that. I get to do what I love, as far as like working with companies, them actually sending me out free products. Some of it costs a lot, and I spent a lot of money like investing into this stuff. But that's what content creation is really at a day. It's like, I wouldn't want to say like a money sink, but it kind of is, in the hopes that one day, you receive money back from it. So it's kind of like a long-term investment. And sometimes you might not receive that return on investment, but sitting there, like getting like you said, playing video games in order to like, I'm playing this game in order to get content, instead of like, I'm playing this game because I enjoy it. And then it's like, you have that mindset, okay, I have to get, a certain amount of clips today to upload to TikTok and YouTube, because like you said, it's very competitive. And people nowadays, when they do the content creation, that's their mindset. It's like, I have to continue to play this one game that I'm known for, because they don't know me for the game. They just know me because I play the game.
Yeah.
And they're like, I have to constantly, like you said, upload to TikTok, and it's a battle learning the algorithms and the edits and doing that for YouTube Shorts too. And it's just like, it's like you said, it's too much. And having that mindset is, you're going to reach burnout really quick, really, really quick. So I 100% agree with what you're saying. 100%.
Definitely. So before we end off here, holy, one more question I usually ask. Kind of, I did take a little bit away from the talk we was talking about mental health and burnouts and stuff. I always like to always add on to that. Networking is different for everybody. Everybody perceives networking in a different way. But and not even really newer creators. I mean, there's still current creators that don't do well with supporting others and networking and reaching out. What would you say networking is to you, and why would you say it's important for somebody to understand?
Networking, I think, it's really definitely important when it comes to the type of content you want to do, as far as like, is it a multiplayer game? That probably is going to apply as far as networking a little bit more than somebody who is like maybe mostly doing game walkthroughs or something like that. That might be single player. So you might not necessarily need to network as much, maybe more so with like companies to get like free game codes or something, like a little bit early access or something. But when it comes to like, let's say Call of Duty, or playing a game that's super popular right now, as far as like Lethal Company or something, it might be very important for you to network. But when it comes to it, a lot of people just do it based off of when they see a content creator that they potentially can work with, they look at that content creator as like, okay, how are they going to benefit me? Am I going to be able to get their
Hmm.
viewers to watch my content as well? Am I going to be able to steal in their views or anything like that, and be able to, I don't want to say leech off of, because this is not negative or
Right.
toxic or whatever. It's just like people don't realize like that's what they're thinking, and they don't identify as that. They just think like, hey, this person is, has good numbers or wherever. I could work with them or wherever. Maybe they're similar numbers as me, or maybe they're a little bit more exposed, has a little bit more exposure or wherever. So maybe I can get a little bit more exposed. But it's like right there, having that mentality, you're automatically thinking like you're going to get big because you work with certain people, instead of realizing like, hey, we might play the same game, or it might be a game I'm interested in, but we go together like oil and fire or oil and water. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Like we don't really mix well or gel well. And that's something I learned early on, especially playing like Destiny, where it's mostly like community based, working and playing with a lot of people to do like raids and dungeons and PvP and stuff like that. I realized really early on, you have to really gel with people to make something work. And there's been times where I've played with people who would be considered like top tier, like in the Trials of Osiris or back of the Trials of the Nine and all that stuff through Destiny. And they're really good, but we struggle sometimes to get to what was known as the lighthouse. Whereas there's people that I would literally shoot the shit with or wherever, and who were super like, we gelled together really, really well, and none of us were really good at PvP, and we just easily went to Lighthouse, no losses. And you have to do that like for like 7 wins or wherever in a row. And that's what we do. Every now and then we just, group up and play and just shoot the shit. We're just talking. We're not even really focusing on the game, never really been serious. And then bam, before we know it, we're at the lighthouse. So it's definitely important to network. But again, you should be more focused on not what you can get from that creator or what they can offer you as far as views and acknowledgement, exposure. Even when it comes to like working with teams or organizations or companies and stuff like that, you should be looking at the fact of, do I gel with this person? Do I gel with this company and stuff like that? What does this person represent? Do we, our personalities clash? Do we have different types of interests when it comes to playing that? Even if it's the same game, do we play the game the same way? It, what I'm saying? Because when it comes to content creation and I would say networking and stuff like that, some people are super serious when it comes to certain games. Some people
Hmm.
are more on the comedic side, and sometimes those can balance each other out and everything. And usually, when those balance each other out, even if they have two different personalities, it's because they felt that they meshed well together.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you fake it till you make it kind of thing, like you might not be the funnest person on the planet, but you're trying to be like that kind of personality, and it just comes off fake. Now, people would argue nowadays people's retention rate is really low. People are not really smart when it comes to that stuff. A lot of people are fooled by the fake personalities when it comes to YouTube, especially when you can edit stuff out and everything.
Hmm.
A lot of people can fake it a lot. But I would still bring it up that you would be burnt out really, really quick, especially if y'all have to keep up that high fake energy all the time, even if you're working with other people. And if that person is literally like that all the time and it's not fake and you're trying to fake it, you trying to keep up that act like on both sides from your viewers and working with that person, it's just better when you're being genuine and you realize like, hey, I think this person can gel. And if you reach out and y'all try to network and it doesn't work out because maybe your personalities don't clash or wherever, you don't get along wherever, don't feel bad with just having a serious conversation with the person like, hey, I wanted to work together with you wherever, to see if our personalities or something would work and see if we can get along and stuff. Unfortunately, what I'm saying, it's just, we're two sides to a different coins. It's just not for me or something like that. Who knows? Maybe that person feels the same way or something like that. Maybe that person could be a little bit more understandable. But that's when you see people like they just completely ghost
Yeah.
people. They won't say anything. And that can make the other person feel some type of way. You know what I mean? So just keep that level of professionalism. Just be honest with them or wherever. And like I said, don't go into networking thinking that you can just get something from somebody. Be yourself, be 100% genuine and everything. Because everybody's trying to get over somebody else and stuff, but it's just like at the end of the day, man, we're all humans. You know what I'm saying? We have our flaws. We have stuff that we excel at. We all have different personalities and stuff. So you should just honestly, just like I said, be yourself and literally look for genuine connections with people when you're trying to network. That should be at the forefront, not like I said multiple times. It shouldn't be what you can get out of that collaboration.
Yeah.
It should be like, is this person going to be a friend that we can collab with? You know what I mean? So
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. I think that's at the end of the day, you just have to understand where your intentions are. And I feel like if you're reaching out to somebody specifically for content or some type of self gain, like, I mean, yeah, like you can be fake about it at the end of the day, but I mean, there are other people with that same mindset. They want to collab just in that sense to make content and maybe get
mhm.
bigger numbers or whatever. So my advice would just be honest and be upfront with them, and
Yep.
just see how it plays out. And at the end of the day, the old little cringy thing is just, may not work out and they may say no. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I've appreciated your time talking about everything.
Oh
Do
yeah.
you have anything coming up that you're excited to share with anybody?
Throughout this year, I'm hopefully just gonna start working with a little bit more of camera gear and with camera companies and stuff like that. I've been slowly making my way into that space with camera accessories and stuff from certain companies. But other than that, I'm gonna keep on doing, I would say, streaming gear oriented type of reviews and stuff. But like I said, hopefully I'm going to be able to do both as far as setups,
Yeah.
guides and stuff goes. I will be doing, because I was told today actually in chat that I should probably do a redo of my setup tour or wherever.
Mm.
So hopefully in the coming weeks to maybe midway through next month, I would actually do a revised setup tour. So I'm excited for that, and hopefully people will enjoy that type of video.
Yeah, definitely. I know I will. I'm definitely going to be checking out your content and stuff after this, being able to kind of understand everything. So lastly, before we end off here, is there any last words you want to say for anybody watching to end off your video?
Um, be kind to somebody. You know what I'm saying? Don't forget to tell your loved ones that I love you instead of just love you. It means a lot more. And take care of yourself. You know what I'm saying? Mentally, physically, it's very, very important, regardless if you do content creation or not. Just, you know, keep up with yourself. You know what I'm saying? Make sure that you're, like I said, taking care of yourself, having those mental days, going for those walks. And yeah, that's about it.
Well, Squid, I really appreciate your time, man. It's been a blast being able to talk with you. Over an hour we've been sitting here, so it's
Oh,
been a
same,
blast.
same.
Yeah, it's been awesome, man. So anybody watching, if you can go check Squid out, Twitter hashtags right below his head. You go in the YouTube description. You can check out all his links there. Go check him out on his streams and on his YouTube content. As always, I appreciate you guys always coming here. I think we're on episode 36, I think. So thank you for watching. And that's it, guys. My name is Seeds, and I'm out. Peace.